All right, welcome back. Another set of RBT exam practice questions today. I hope your studying is going well. I hope you're learning those terms and definitions. That is the quickest way to improve on the test. And now, as you go through these questions, okay, try to answer them before I give you the explanation. And then any questions that you get wrong, make sure you go back, review, figure out, and really understand why you got that question wrong. Okay, and then try to learn from those mistakes. All right. And if you do those two things, okay, you will get better at the test and your chances of passing will increase. All right. So if you are enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe. It helps me out. It supports me and I appreciate it. If you need study materials, check out our website or check out one of these links, okay, which I will put in the comments and descriptions below. We offer 2 practice exams, a study guide, and then our combo has both practice exams, study guide, and flashcards. So check that out. Keep studying hard. Any questions, email me or leave a comment. I'm happy to help. Other than that, let's get into it. Okay, your client recently learned the color green. Your client can identify green crayons, green grass, and green trucks. Your client is now calling red and blue crayons green crayons. This is an issue of what? So, first part's good, right? Our client has learned the color green and he's starting to tact, right, different green items, which is great, okay? However, what's also happening? They are now starting to tact or label red and blue items, such as crayons, green, okay? So we've got some good in there and some bad in there. So what is this an issue of? Is it an issue of stimulus generalization, response generalization, overgeneralization, or response maintenance? Well, we know it's not response generalization. Why? Well, because the response is always the same, right? The response is always saying green. So the response isn't changing, okay? So response generalization is out. It's not maintenance, all right, because we're still teaching this skill, okay? Maintenance is the ability to engage in the response or do the skill once learning has stopped. And we are continuing teaching, so it's not maintenance, okay? So our options are stimulus, generalization, overgeneralization. Well, stimulus generalization is occurring, right? Because our response of green is occurring across multiple stimuli and untrained stimuli. But is that an issue? No, the issue is overgeneralization, okay? Generalization is happening too much, okay? So now that we've started to generalize, we now have to take a step backwards, okay, and start teaching discrimination, right? And the differences between green and red and blue, okay? So although stimulus generalization is occurring, the issue is overgeneralization, where our client is generalizing too much. All right, which of the following best represents the x-axis? So, graphing question, as I always say, don't be intimidated by the graphing questions, okay? They're all very similar and they all are very easy once you understand graphs. So, the x-axis is what axis? Start there. Is it the vertical axis, okay, or the horizontal axis? Well, the x-axis is this horizontal axis, right? It's the one at the bottom, okay? So, what best represents the x-axis? Is it time? Is it baseline? Is it frequency, or is it trend? Well, we can immediately eliminate baseline, okay? Because baseline is a set of data, right? Baseline would be 1, 2, and 3 in this scenario, where it's our data before intervention starts, okay? So baseline data goes on the graph, right? And is represented by the X and the Y axis, okay? So we can eliminate baseline data. Trend, right, is referring to our data path, right? So our paths, when our data points are connected, okay, we have different trends. Our trend here, 1, 2, and 3 is no trend. And then 4, 5, 6, and 7, again, is no trend, right? But that doesn't represent what is on the x-axis, okay? So now we have to look at time or frequency. Or remember, what does the y-axis represent? From last week, okay, what is on our y-axis? The behavior that we are tracking goes on the y-axis. So if we were going to look at the frequency of that behavior, okay, that would go on the y-axis. So therefore, what goes on the x-axis is the passage of time, okay? And this should be x-axis. So On our x-axis, right, is our passage of time. So days, months, hours, sessions, right? And on our y-axis is the behavior, okay? When you're doing graphing questions, as long as you understand each piece of the graph, right, and there's not that many, okay, these are really easy, okay? So do a few graphing questions, and then you're going to get it down, and they become extremely easy on the exam. All right, your client had a great week last week. When you arrive to work on Monday, your client has started to turn all the lights off, looks at you, and smiles. When you tell them to keep the lights on, they laugh and turn the lights back off. However, if the client is in a room alone, they will not attempt to turn the lights off. Based on this information, you might hypothesize that the function of turning the lights off is what? So this is a good example of what you will be doing as an RBT, okay? As you are working with the client, okay, new behaviors will pop up. And when new behaviors pop up, it is going to be your responsibility, okay, to one, report them to your supervisor, and then two, start to hypothesize what you think the function of the behavior was. Why did that behavior occur? Okay, that's what I would ask you as a BCBA. Hey, why do you think it happened? So here, in this scenario, why do you think your client, okay, is now turning the lights off and laughing and then doing it as you're giving them, okay, feedback? However, they're not doing it when they're alone. So what does that tell you? Okay, what do you think? Are they trying to gain an item? Are they trying to gain a tangible? Well, in this scenario, nothing's being given to them, right? There's no item given to them. So tangible seems unlikely. Automatic seems unlikely, okay, because they're not doing it when they're alone. And that's the biggest giveaway, whether or not the function is automatic. If it occurs when the client or person is alone, okay, there's a good chance that the function is automatic reinforcement. However, if it doesn't occur when they're alone, then it's a good chance it's not automatic. Are they trying to escape from anything in this scenario? No, based on this information, they're not. So the only option we're left with is attention, okay? So this is how you should start thinking about behavior, right? Last week, they weren't doing this behavior. This behavior is now started. When they do it, they look at me, they smile, they think it's really funny. When I give them feedback, they continue to do it and they think it's even funnier, okay? That should immediately trigger in your mind, this might be for attention. And then when you notice it, that they're not doing it when they're alone, then you should obviously start to think, okay, it's most likely attention, right? So that's how you start to think about functions and then applying functions to behavior. All right, Gordon Ramsay, Chef Gordon Ramsay just went live on TikTok and is criticizing the food dishes that viewers submit to him. As he insults and critiques food dishes, more and more viewers are submitting their own dishes. Gordon Ramsay's insults serve as what? Okay, so what's happening? Gordon is going live, right? People submit dishes. Gordon insults these people, right? Is the insult functioning as a punishment or a reinforcer? Well, as he is insulting these people's dishes, right? People, more and more viewers are submitting their dishes, okay? So is the behavior increasing or decreasing? The behavior is increasing. So we know it has to be reinforcement, right? Remember, when we're looking at reinforcement and punishment questions, you ask yourself, did the behavior increase or did the behavior decrease? If it increased, it's reinforcement. If it decreased, it's punishment, okay? So this is reinforcement because the behavior increased. Now, were we adding something or were we taking something away? Positive, add, negative, take away. Gordon was adding his insults, right? So therefore, we have to think this is positive reinforcement, okay? So this is a good example of traditionally insults and critiques, right, are kind of viewed as punishment, right? They're meant to decrease whatever you're insulting or critiquing. However, in this scenario, people want to get insulted by Gordon Ramsay, okay? And as he insults, okay, the behavior of submitting dishes just keeps going, increasing, okay? So we can't base function, okay, or we can't base the reinforcement or punishment properties on how the behavior looks, right? The topography doesn't matter. It's how the stimuli affects the behavior. If that behavior increases, regardless of how, okay, the stimuli looks, it's reinforcement. If that behavior decreases, it's punishment, okay? So in this scenario, these insults and these critiques, okay, are acting as positive reinforcement. If you're planning to take event recording data, which of the following would not be an appropriate tool to use? So, good example, and I like to give these examples of why you need to know your terms, you need to know your definitions. What is event recording data? If you know what event recording is, super easy question. Event recording is just frequency, okay? You're just recording every time a behavior occurs. That's all you're doing. So if all you're doing is taking frequency data, which of the following would you not need? Tally marks, clicker counter, stopwatch, or frequency data sheet? Well, super easy question. Stopwatch. A stopwatch is not going to help you with frequency because a frequency is just counting, right? Event recording is just the same as frequency where you're just recording every instance of a behavior occurrence. You can use tally marks, you can use a clicker, you can use a frequency data sheet. However, a stopwatch would be better fit for what? Duration, okay? Easy question if you know your terms and definitions. All right, Tim is playing Monopoly with his client and his client's mom. As soon as the client starts losing, he will accuse the other players of cheating. This causes issues when he is with his peers. Today, Tim is providing reinforcement on an FR2 schedule each time his client loses or starts to lose and doesn't accuse anyone of cheating. What best describes the procedure Tim is implementing? Okay, so we know this is a differential reinforcement procedure. Okay, something is being reinforced and something is being put on extinction. It's differential reinforcement. But what kind of differential reinforcement are we using here? And there's a key word, all right, in this scenario that gives it away. It's a dead giveaway, okay? So our options are differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors, differential reinforcement of incompatible, differential reinforcement of other, differential reinforcement of lower rates. Well, question you need to ask yourself, are you teaching an alternative behavior, okay? Or are you teaching, or are you reinforcing in the presence of a behavior not occurring, right? Because we know DRA and DRI, okay, we're trying to teach a different behavior. With DRO, we're reinforcing when a behavior doesn't happen. What is Tim doing? Tim is reinforcing when the accusation of cheating doesn't happen, okay? So it doesn't matter how the client responds to losing, as long as the client doesn't accuse anyone of cheating, they are reinforced. And that is DRO, okay? As long as your client isn't engaged in the target behavior, you are reinforcing them, okay? Doesn't matter what else they're doing, okay? They're still reinforced, okay? We're not teaching a alternative behavior. We're not teaching an incompatible behavior. We're not teaching a replacement behavior. We're just trying to reduce, okay, the accusations of cheating. So anytime the client doesn't accuse someone of cheating, they're reinforced. The key word here is doesn't, okay? DRO is reinforcing in the absence of behavior. The client is reinforced in the absence of the accusation. As an RBT, you are required to write session notes after each session. Which of the following would be inappropriate to record in your notes? So you're doing session notes, okay? What are our session notes supposed to be? They're supposed to be complete, they're supposed to be objective, all right? So which of the following is inappropriate if we're keeping that in mind? A, today the client engaged in 3 instances of self-aggression and 2 instances of elopement. That's pretty good, right? That's objective. That's exactly what happened, okay? And that would be useful. So A is good. B, the client mastered out the following targets today: ID matching, receptive labeling, and word to picture. Again, pretty good, right? We're just describing what the client mastered, okay? It's useful information if someone were to read it, okay? And we're not adding anything extra. So good. C, the client's mom reported that the client did not sleep well last night and has not slept well the past 2 nights. Ask yourself, is this relevant to our treatment? Okay. I would say yes. Okay. This is relevant. You're supposed to report variables that might affect the client. Okay. That is a task list item. And although we can't say for sure this had any impact on behavior, okay, you're not saying it did. Okay. If you were to say the mom reported the client did not sleep well last night, therefore the client's behavior was worse, or the client was this or that, then it might be inappropriate. Okay. Because now you're making assumptions about why the behavior occurred. And C, which is okay, all you're doing is reporting what the mother told you, which is what you should be doing. Okay. You're not adding any additional assumptions or any of your own commentary. You're just reporting what happened, which is exactly what you should do in your session notes. So that leaves us with D. The client was sad today because he had a bad day at school. This led to low compliance. What is the problem with D? Well, maybe the client was sad. Okay. You can't really be sure, but maybe they were. Okay. However, the problem is you're now attributing low compliance to the client being sad, which we never do, right? Because how do you know for sure the client was sad? Was the client just telling you they were sad so they wouldn't have to comply with you? Okay. Or are you just making assumptions about why the client was sad? Okay. And now we can't measure sad. I can't duplicate sad. Okay. It might look different tomorrow. There's a lot of issues with D. Okay. D, you're adding a bunch of your own opinion. It's subjective. Okay. And you're attributing behavior to something we can't measure. All right. Remember, session notes need to be objective. They need to be complete. Okay. A, B, and C are great. D is incorrect. There is a giant cookie jar on Billy's counter that is always full of cookies. Whenever Billy's mom is home and Billy grabs a cookie, she tells him to put it back and wait until after dinner. However, when Grandma is home and Billy grabs a cookie, she tells Billy to take as many as he wants. Grandma represents what? So in this scenario, what does the grandma represent? Okay. Well, we know when Billy sees his mom, okay, and grabs a cookie, he has to put the cookie back. Okay. So he's not getting reinforcement. But when grandma's home, Billy gets all the reinforcement. Okay. So does Billy's grandma represent an MO? Well, remember, what is an MO? An MO makes you want something or not want something. It alters the value of the reinforcer, okay, which is the cookie, right? However, Billy wants the cookie regardless, right? Even when mom's home, when grandma's home, it doesn't matter who's home, Billy wants the cookie. So grandma's not altering any value, okay? Billy still wants the cookie, so it's not MO. What about Punisher, right? Is grandma a Punisher? No, clearly not, because whenever she's home, Billy gets the cookies, right? The behavior isn't decreasing, right? Therefore, she's not a Punisher. And then an S delta, what is an S delta? An S delta is a stimuli that in the presence, that when a behavior occurs in the presence of an S delta, the behavior is not reinforced. Okay. So if anything, Billy's mom is an S delta because when Billy grabs the cookie, right, that behavior does not receive reinforcement. So therefore, grandma must be what? An SD. And why is grandma an SD? Okay. Because when grandma's home, she signals to Billy that reinforcement, the cookie, is available. When Billy sees grandma, he knows he can grab a cookie, right? And he'll be reinforced for grabbing the cookie, which is, hey, Billy, take as many cookies as you want, okay? Therefore, grandma represents an SD because she signals reinforcement is available. Tough question, okay? Make sure you understand this question, right? Go through it a few times. It's difficult, but if you understand this question and why it's not MO and why it's not a Punisher, but is an SD, okay, you're well on your way to really understanding these key concepts. When we are shaping behaviors, we are doing what? Okay. So shaping, right, is how we teach what? It's how we teach novel behaviors. Okay, because we're doing what? When we're shaping, what are we doing? Well, we're reinforcing successive approximations of behaviors. Okay. So as we get closer to the behavior that we want, okay, that terminal behavior, we're reinforcing each step of the way. Okay. We're building up that behavior. We're putting the pieces of that behavior together until we make one puzzle, and that's our complete behavior. Okay. And how are we doing that? Well, we are doing that through differential reinforcing. Okay. So all of these represent shaping behaviors. We're teaching novel behaviors through successive approximations of behaviors by differentially reinforcing those successive approximations. All right, 2 months ago, your client would wake up every morning at 5 a.m., knock on his parents' door, and ask them to make him breakfast. Your BCBA instructed the parents to put this behavior on extinction and taught the client how to make breakfast as a replacement. The client had not knocked on his parents' door for over a month, but today she woke up and requested breakfast from her parents at 5 a.m. Which of the following best represents this scenario? All right, this is a classic scenario that can be very difficult for parents to, one, understand, and two, deal with, okay? We successfully extinguished a behavior that was previously a problem, okay? So the behavior of this client waking up and asking for breakfast was gone, right? For a month, it hadn't happened, okay? And all of a sudden, your client wakes up and engages in the behavior of knocking on the door. Now parents are freaking out. Oh no, why is the behavior back? Okay, this is terrible. Okay, we can't wake up at 5 a.m. every morning. We had taught them this behavior. Okay, they know how to make breakfast. Why are they doing it again? Well, need not panic, okay? Because this best represents what scenario? This is a specific scenario that happens, okay, once extinction takes place, right, and a behavior reoccurs. So is it resistance to extinction? Well, no, because behavior, right, was extinct. Okay, extinction worked. The behavior was extinguished. It was gone. So no, it wasn't resistance to extinction. Was it resistance to punishment? Are we punishing anything in this scenario? No, we're differentially reinforcing, right? We're teaching a replacement behavior while putting something on extinction. Okay, no punishment is involved. Did the extinction procedure fail? Well, no, right? Our behavior went away for a month, extinction, or over a month. Extinction was successful, right? Very successful. So what happened? The behavior spontaneously recovered. This is a perfect example of spontaneous recovery, okay? A behavior is put on extinction, right? It goes away, everybody's happy, and then 2 months later, all of a sudden that behavior is back, okay? That is totally normal, it's predictable, and it's something we should plan for. Because when that behavior does come back, the worst thing you can do is reinforce it, okay? That behavior's been extinct, okay? Don't go and panic and reinforce the behavior just because you haven't seen it for a while. This is totally predictable. It's spontaneous recovery. Spontaneous recovery is a previously extinct or extinguished behavior, a sudden reoccurrence of that behavior, okay? So great example of spontaneous recovery. We have to plan for it. We have to warn parents about it. So when that behavior does inevitably come back, okay, we don't panic. All right, I'm going to end on an easy one as a gift, okay, for all your hard work. RBTs are required to know the 4 functions of behaviors. Which of the following is not one of the 4 functions? If you don't know the 4 functions, like the back of your hand, and you can't rattle them off to me immediately, you need to study more. What are the 4 functions? Tangible, escape, attention, automatic. So let's see. We have tangible, we have escape, we have control, we have avoidance. We know tangible is out. Escape is a function. Avoidance and escape, same function, okay? They're 2 different things, technically, right? But it's the same function. So control is not a function, right? Some people want to say it's the 5th function, which is okay, I guess, right? But it's not one of our primary 4 functions. All right, good job. I hope you enjoyed these questions. Keep working hard, keep studying hard. It's going to pay off, okay? Check out our study materials. I think they would really help you. Our practice exams and study guides, flashcards, okay? Like and subscribe. Any questions, email me, leave a comment below. I'm happy to help. Other than that, keep working hard, okay? It's going to pay off, and I will see you soon.